again, a warm welcome, and I hope you would enjoy the next 1.5 hours or so of a plethora of information that we have prepared for you. We are very excited to have you as our guests this afternoon, and we do hope that as you part from this platform later on in the day, you would have indeed found it fruitful, and the information that will be shared with you would most definitely make an impact in all the information that you've been trying to acquire. Just before I introduce our guests, I'd also like to take a few minutes, 1 minute, to reintroduce who we are. So we are the SAADP, as popularly known. However, that actually stands for South African Actuarial Development Program. We've been in the game for the past just over 20 years, 22 years. And what the SAADP is about, we are a bursary program that has been operational from 3 main universities, being University of Cape Town, Wits University, as well as University of Pretoria. We recently would be making inroads at other institutions of the likes of University of Joburg, as well as the University of the Free State. And we hope that we will be seeing some of your faces in all of these universities. Without any further ado, thank you once more again for making time to be with us. And we have really prepared a warm pot for you. And with us this afternoon is our alumni, as well as some of those alumni from SAADP who are already professionals in their own right within the actuarial science and the actuarial space, actuarial professional space. And we do hope that you would enjoy what they have prepared for you. Before they go ahead, just a few housekeeping rules. Please do make sure that wherever you are seated, you are muted. If at all you do have any questions, you can make use of our chat room to post those questions at my earliest convenience. At the right time that's allocated, we will then see to those. Ideally, it will be ideal if you can set your questions aside up until our speaker has completed. Then we can have a question and answer session. Are we all good with that? And thirdly, please let's make this session an interactive one. We can make use of our icons and reactive emojis to participate. It will be much more, interesting and joyful if you also participate and ask questions, and react with your emojis at a given space in time. So as I have mentioned earlier on, we have some of our alumni on the platform who have prepared something very special for all of us. And the first person that we have that I will introduce as in a little while is Mr. Kamohelo Sithole. Mr. Kamohelo Sithole, thank you for being with us this afternoon and for making time to really come in and share a bit of the information that you have with us. And we also have Mr. Kamlen Govender, who would come later to also share with us. Yes, thank you so much for showing your screen. Welcome, Kamlen. Kamohelo, are you here as well?
Yes, I am. I'll have my screen share and everything as soon as I start speaking.
All right, thank you so much. And lastly, we have Ms. Makgomo Ngoepe, who would also share her story with us and all the info that she's prepared for us. So just one last time, again, we are so excited to have you. And I'd like to say a big thank you to all the learners that are on the platform, the parents that are on the platform, welcome, as well as the educators that are on the platform. We dearly do hope that you will enjoy your stay with us for the next few hour and a half or so. All right, without any further ado, the first speaker that we'll introduce this afternoon is Mr. Kamohelo Sithole, as I have mentioned. I've just got a brief profile of who he is, a background profile. Mr. Kamohelo Sithole is a SAADP alumni. I graduated with the Bachelor of Science in Actuarial Science back in 2018. I hope this is not giving away your age, Kamo.
No, it doesn't.
Okay. And followed by that, in 2019, he then went on to do his honors in Actuarial Science at the University of Witwatersrand. Mr. Kamohelo is a fellow of the Actuarial Society of South Africa, what we call a FASA. And as you well know, that the professional body that holds this profession, the actuarial profession, is called ASA. So he's a fellow of the Actuarial Society. He specializes he's a specialist actuarial analyst at the Liberty Group of South Africa. And this was the first role that he held. He then moved on to be an actuarial analyst at Sanlam Insurance, and after this role, he went on to work as a senior actuarial analyst at Deloitte. He currently is an assistant manager at Deloitte, and that's where he spends most of his time. And he's here this afternoon to share with us a bit more about what he does. So Kamohelo, if maybe you can take a few minutes to share with us more based on your background and info, but most importantly, if you may share with us the roadmap to becoming an actuary. And we all very well know that it's not a child's play. I often say it's a journey less traveled. And here we are this afternoon. You are one of those that have journeyed on this journey that has been less traveled. So if you may just share with us the essentials of the roadmap to becoming an actuary and to be dubbed a fellow, for us to even say that you're a FASA. Over to you, Mr. Sithole. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah, so I think as I guess like a brief outline as to who I am, guys. I think I guess I'll just add some color to some of the detail that's already been provided. So I think when I started my career, as mentioned, it was at Liberty. I started off as a product development actuary. That just means that I pretty much designed insurance products and I managed various stakeholders, be it clients or brokers or internal functions within that organization, just to make sure that the way that the product works and any new variations and whatsoever are all sort of like well treated and everything else. And I then actually moved to Santam. There I focused on commercial lines pricing. So that just means for short-term insurance, by the way. So I pretty much just left life insurance, which is pretty much your mortality and your morbidity sort of product. So, when you ever hear things like funeral cover, your death cover, that's pretty much where I started. And I pretty much moved into a space where it's your vehicle cover, your buildings cover, your contents, but not for the man on the street in terms of, the house that you buy, but more maybe for like your companies and the likes. And then, I think after that, I figured, what, I actually would like to venture a bit into consulting. So from that basis, I actually then joined Deloitte, and as mentioned, I'm currently a assistant manager within that space. Now I'm going to share my screen. Now, when it comes to the part of this presentation, and I'll actually pop the link, but I'll just quickly take you guys through the information that I'll be communicating first. So don't worry about the link. I'm just popping it for your awareness. But rather than actually go through the whole process of designing a slide deck and everything, I figured if you want to delve into this topic of the actuarial journey and how I guess a person can sort of go there from a actuarial perspective, there's already like a resource that does this for us, so I'm going to play a bit more onto that. Okay, so within that site that I shared, if you ever open the link, you'll see that there's this part here that says, I want to become an actuary. Okay, so this is the part that applies to you guys, given that you're still in school. Now, I'll start by discussing the whole question as to, and I'll play around with the site, like going up and down a bit. Some of this information will be covered by some of the other speakers, but as you can tell here, we have information about the number of actuaries across the various designations, and I'll speak into what these designations mean. And yeah, this is pretty much the skills that we have, information on what we actually do. And there's further information on like the career path, which is a bit more detailed, and some videos on people who've pretty much pursued this journey. But before I jump into all of that, I'll start into, the university journey. So as you can already tell with this site, okay, these are the list of universities in South Africa that you could apply towards into studying towards being an actuary. I will also speak into the various requirements that they have. And then there's also the University of Nairobi. And this is linked a bit into how the Actuarial Society in South Africa pretty much has a footprint across the African continent. So that pretty much links a bit to that. So I won't speak much on this, but within a South Africa perspective, this is where you'll pretty much get the information on the universities. Now, having this as an issue. So if you click on any of these links, for example, if we start off with UJ, you'll pretty much see, some general information about the application, start and end dates, the campus, and some various contact information. The thing that I really want to focus a bit on as it comes to these sites, and you'll see that it differs with the various universities, and I'll also show you guys where and considering which universities, offer what in terms of exemptions and everything else. But when it comes to the subjects that you take, typically, they look at it from an APS perspective to say, look, your minimum APS has to be 40. If we look at UJ as an example, and then they pretty much give some guidance to say, okay, fine. So for English, and this is typically home language, I don't think it's first additional, but here they don't really dive into that detail. So they just pretty much specify the pass mark, and similar for the mathematics. So those are their two main criteria. And then from an APS perspective, they sort of that consideration. If we look at the University of the Witwatersrand, they also give similar information, in further detail about actuarial sciences, what the curriculum is. However, if we just focus on that entry requirement section, what you see is that they say English home or first additional language level 7, mathematics level 7, and physical sciences level 7. And they pretty much say that your APS must be 44 plus. So they have a minimum of 44. And they then also go into detail across weight listing and everything else. There's also considerations about having to write your NBTs. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of it, but your NBT is pretty much a standardized testing format, primarily covering comprehension and mathematics, and I think logical reasoning skills. It should be like 3 papers and whatever, but you guys can visit the NBT site as it relates to further information as to how that sort of goes. And then I think a third one that we can also speak to is Stellenbosch. And yeah, I mean, pretty much they also give some information as to the information that they cover and the things that you'll be studying. But importantly, when it comes to your academic criteria, where is it now? Is it somewhere at the top? Did I go past it? Just give me a second. Let's just second here. Okay, there it is. So yeah, they pretty much speak into what the average based on your 6 sort of languages. I don't think they communicate in APS. They do have an exclusion for life orientation. I think this is consistent with most universities. And yeah, for them, mathematics is 80% minimum. Home language 60%, and if English was not, and that is tied to English, and if that was not the case, 75 if it's your FAL. And yeah, so I think as you guys read through this sort of information, you'll pretty much I guess see what the various criteria the university sort of require. Important thing, it's more on your APS and your benchmarks in terms of your NPTs. Now, when it comes to deciding which universities, the differences really between the universities are based on the exemptions that they offer. And when I say exemptions, if we, for example, jump to the latest one that we saw for Stellenbosch. So within your first year, right, they pretty much say there's a course known as Actuarial Statistics, Business Economics, Business Finance. They have various codes and everything. We'll speak about that. The differences really come in over, they all just come in over there, where it pretty much just says, look, within UJ, you can get around about 6 exemptions. Within, for example, Stellenbosch, they offer A311, N211, and a couple of F100s, and that's pretty much where, and then you can benchmark against, I guess, your Northwest, your Potchefstroom, and all the others. So that's pretty much how you decide as to which university you then want to go into. Now, onto the part of the actuarial journey, and I think maybe for this, I'll use becoming an actuary. If I just scroll a bit down. So here, over here, there's what they call the ASA study roadmap. This is the roadmap to becoming an actuary. So if this link opens, you'll pretty much see, and this is, for example, if you consider what we saw on the part of Stellenbosch, where, for example, there was the actual statistics, business economics, business finance. This is typically your first year of study. So within your first year, what you'll see is, you'll be doing certain courses like mathematics, economics, and accounting, and you'll be doing it with people across various studies. Some people will be economists, others will be pursuing computer sciences and everything else. So that's pretty much your first year. But from an actuarial perspective, this is where first year usually comes in. And then after that, there's these. We usually call these your A200s. Sorry, your A200s. Your A200s are typically done over a course of your second year and your third year. There are some of these components here as well, which is your N100 and your N200. Those could also form part of your third year and second year, especially when it comes to certain things like communication and presentation skills. So it's not always mathematics, as you see here, like risk modeling and financial mathematics. There are those soft skills to say you do all these complex models. Can you find a way to explain these complex principles in the most simplistic of terms? And that's usually then your first 3 years. So pretty much this, and everything here at the top, that's usually your undergraduate in most of the universities that we spoke into. And then once you move into honors, there's what you call the A300s, and this is then your A311. And from that basis, that's a studying one. And then there's also these F100s, with the exception of F106 and F107. In most of the universities, you can pursue either of these. Okay. And then once you start working, usually there's then this N311, this N411, and this final exam. Now, you're hearing me say like this exam and that exam, and I think on that basis, I'll speak a bit more into these designations, which is what you then see here. So when you leave your undergrad, and this is assuming that you leave with all of these exemptions or some of them, right? So meaning at most up to here, you are typically known as what is a technical member, which is TASA. So technical member of the Actuarial Society of South Africa. That just pretty much says that, you've pretty much done all the mathematics and soft skills that the university program can offer. Once you venture into the space where you've completed this A311, and you've also completed something, just the A311, I think this communication one more importantly, so not the foundation applications, and also usually with some work experience as well, because there's this particular field, then you become eligible into being called something that is known as an AMASA. And I think that's where you start seeing the color coding sort of cycling through here. So green TASA, everything in gray AMASA. And then once you complete any of the stuff in red, you then become what is known as a FASA, which is then a fellow of the Actuarial Society of South Africa. Now, typically then the last two designations, AMASA and FASA, those you usually get post-university. It's not really possible to get them during university, and Yeah, that's pretty much where it stands. The only designation that also exists, which I'll just briefly touch on, is this designation known as Sierra. This is what you call a Chartered Enterprise Risk Actuary, and I think they also sort of give that description over there. That is pretty much a add-on into your actuarial designation. It's more like doing like an elective, to say, look, I'll just do a further study on a certain topic, which is pretty much really enterprise risk management, and from that particular perspective saying, okay, look, once I do well in that particular field, I can actually get a designation which is known as a Sierra. So similar to ASA, it is a credential that is governed by a professional body. Okay, the only further detail then I'll then speak into is this stuff that you see over here. This stuff that you see over here is pretty much really linked to these core courses. The only thing that I'll pretty much say to it is, like I said, this stuff in gray, you'll pretty much get through to it post your university, whereas this stuff here you usually get through in conjunction with your university studies as well. So as you can see, for example, some of these things are presentation skills, strategic thinking, there's a legal awareness sort of module, and then over there's certain things like professional requirements and the fundamentals of modeling and the likes thereon. So that's pretty much where it then comes in from a academic perspective. But I think I'll allow you guys to, when you get the time, play a bit with the site and just pretty much go through the information and watch the videos and take it from there. I'm not sure if you guys have questions for me at the moment, because I think, I'm just not trying to give you guys an information overload.
Thank you, Mr. Sithole. That was quite an informative one. I do personally have some question, because quite often our students will be asking, what exactly does it mean by exemptions? What is that? Now you've taken us through them, but perhaps if you can just go a little bit more in detail as to what are they and what weight do they carry in the course of the actuarial journey?
To answer that question, I think, for example, you guys saw, let's look at that one case that we saw on the case of Stellenbosch. I think they called it business economics, actuarial business economics, or was it accounting? One of those, or mathematics or finance. So any of the courses that, let's say, you can do in your first year. What typically happens is actuarial science is similar to accounting and your law, in the sense that once you're done with your undergraduate, you can't just call yourself, an actuary and an accountant or a lawyer. There's actually a professional body that still requires you to do exams and some soft skills and demonstrations of competency and learning. Yeah, okay, I'll answer that as well. And learning, post your academic sort of journey. And what then typically happens is, from an actuarial perspective, I think there's around about 11 exams. And the whole thing about accreditation says some of these exams are already offered by the universities that you go to, right? So I think this was the part of the presentation where I just showed you the different universities, who offers which courses and who doesn't offer which ones. And the reason why that matters is it has an impact on the exemptions that you could get. So what this just means is, if, for example, one of the courses is accountancy, if you do well in accountancy in your first year, maybe you get 80%. By the time you start working after 3 or 4 years, the Actuarial Society will not require you to retake that exam. They're going to say, look, you actually did well from an undergraduate perspective or from an honors perspective, and we can just give you the benefit of the doubt and say, you know what, of the 11 exams, this one is off your plate. You did well in your academic studies. So that is where the whole component of exemptions come in. I'm not sure if there's further questions on that before I look into the chat. Okay.
Yeah, I think my question was also based with a question on the chat room from Kokezo. I do see that K Mokhodzi is typing, so I'm not sure if we should then wait for that question. Okay, there it goes. It says, "Good day, Mr. Sithole. How many exemptions did you write whilst working?"
Bit of a personal one, but I think I had 3 exams when I finished my honors.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Mkhotsi, did you get that one? I think one other.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, one other issue that maybe before we go ahead with the second speaker, if there are no more questions, is the issue of experiential learning that, probably most of our students are not even yet aware of that. Can we touch on that a bit as well, please?
Could you expand on that question a bit?
So what I
Just
mean
trying to
by that
understand.
is, as you are on your journey of the red modules that you have indicated, it is essential that you still work with a mentor and somebody who's already within the actuarial profession and is a FASA or a SIRA, and what the importance thereof is.
Sure. So I think within some of the great stuff from an exam perspective, right? So the actual exams themselves, and this is like the F100s and the F200s that you heard me speak to. Those are typically like, just your typical study and write an exam sort of situation. However, there are some of the criteria along your qualification journey where it's typically what you call your work-based learning. And what this encompasses is the part of saying, okay, look, I pretty much like did maths, right? Like I did the whole course. I understand what actual modeling is all about. But the thing is, academia and work aren't always the same thing. Sometimes businesses like being pragmatic. Sometimes businesses have unique problems relating to data and everything else. So there are then those skills that you start developing to say, for example, okay, I'm going to build a model, but maybe when I build the model, I'm subjected to the fact that a company doesn't maybe have the best data, or maybe they have some system issue. And I'm going to, along that sort of work-based learning sort of perspective, say, I've actually had a manager, I've had a reviewer who sort of looked through my works, provided me with feedback to say, I think this you might want to touch a bit more on, and this maybe we might need to sort of investigate further and everything else. So that's typically what we call your work-based learning. It should be a total of 3 years, and I think that then links to the question of how long does it take to qualify as an actuary. I would say the minimum number of years is 7 years. That typically assumes honors. So 3 years undergrad, 1 year honors, and then 3 years post, I guess, university experience, if we can really call it such a thing. And I think that 3 years is really more the work-based learning. So you need to spend a minimum of 3 years in that. Without it, you can't. I don't think it's possible to qualify sooner. Which AS exams ended up being the most relevant for your path? General insurance. I'm a general insurance actuary. I enjoyed that way more. And then I'd also say maybe a bit of the risk modeling. I've always been a huge fan of the statistics part. Can one become an actuary with maybe a degree in STEM? Okay, so that is also an important part. When you guys fill out that university application thing, I think with universities, when you pay that fee and you fill out to say this is what I want to study, I think they give you an option of 3 sort of fields that you could study, 2 to 3, but I recall the number being 3. So the reason why that's important is that you could make your first option Actuarial Sciences. However, if you have a concern to say, okay, maybe I'm worried that they might not accept me in first year. The thing that I mentioned to say, for example, in your first year class, and this is typically across most universities, the moment you walk into first year, you walk into any class on accountancy, for example, you'll see that there'll be people in various courses. Some people will be pursuing accountancies, others will be someone in economics, others will be, a person in actuarial, your maths classes as well. You'll have engineers and computer science students there. The reason why that matters is that your first year is usually the one part where, irrespective of what you're studying, there's actually still an openness to transition into one course or the other, so I think within VET, as an example, you could apply for a BSc in general science. That should cover pretty much some of the content that your first year actuarial degree covers, which is I think maybe 80% if I had to guesstimate. So if after your first year in, let's say, BSc General Science, you actually want to become an actuary, you can then actually apply to say, I'd like to transfer from this degree to the actuarial degree. So I think, on that part of STEM, it can happen. But I think also even post-university, I mean, I've seen instances where a person worked as an engineer for like 10 years after studying, and then they just decided to transfer into the actuarial sciences, because I mean they already have the mathematical aptitude for it. So yeah, I mean it's possible.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sithole. And I'm so glad that you've touched on that, especially with the issue of degree choices when our learners are making their applications. That's something that's really close to my heart, because quite often you find someone would say my first choice is actuarial science, and then they move on and say my second choice is in medicine, and that tends to really cause a challenge. However, I wish to also reiterate that as you're making your application choices, in as much as it's within the STEM, do make sure exactly what you just did for us, where you were showing us the curriculum of each university across the border. And so that is mainly your guide. So just to put it out there that our learners do make sure that you study that thoroughly, understand the degree options as well as their curriculum content across the universities as you're making your degree choices on application. Mr. Sithole, thank you so much. If there are no more questions, Mr. Sithole has other engagements after this. So we would like to thank him whilst he's on the platform. Thank you so much for your time. And really thank you for making time also to, do your research and share everything that you've shared with us. We do hope that we will see you soon in the future, and that hopefully one of the days when we visit the schools, you'll be physically at the schools to be able to engage with the learners.
Well, thank you
But
for
from
that.
our side, thank you. I'm not sure I'm seeing that Mr. K, or is it K Mokotsi? Yeah, he's saying thank you. All right, so we even have a special thank you from the learners. And yeah, go
Well,
well.
thank you. No, thank you. I think if there's one last thing that I think I'd like to leave you guys with is to say, if I think you saw with some of those universities, they have contact informations towards their admission departments. So if you have questions, relating to like the degree, like for example, to say, I don't know what to study that relates to actuarial within the STEM field, or you have any other sort of questions for them, they should, be forthcoming with that information. So that's the only, I think, departing thought that I'll leave you guys with. But apart from that, thanks everyone.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sithole. Go well.
Cool. Cheers, guys.
Thank you. So guys, I really hope that this information so far has warmed up your seats. It's very cold in Gauteng today. I don't know about our learners in other parts of the country, but so far, Mr. Sithole really warmed up my seat, and I hope it's the same with you guys. Again, I'm going to then introduce our second speaker so that we can be cognizant of time. Our second speaker is Mr. Kamlen Govender. Whenever we are within the actuarial space, we deal a lot with some actuarial lingua. And now I'm so glad because the first speaker actually made it easy for you. So that when I introduced Mr. Kamlen and I'm saying he's a FASA, you now understand what a FASA is. And if I'm going to say he's a SIRA, you now understand what a SIRA is. But in any case, Kamlen is a FASA. And guess what? Over and above that, he's also a SIRA, which stands for a Chartered Enterprise Risk Actuary. But like, guys, can you imagine the brains that are with us this afternoon? He has been working in the life insurance industry for the past 17 years. He began his career at Old Mutual in 2009 and has had the opportunity to work in a variety of roles across different functions, including business units, product types, and market segments. He joined Hollard Life at the end of 2022 and manages product development and pricing, covering various segments of the business. Cam, as he's popularly known, has been involved in various ASA initiatives as course lecturer and on various working groups. He has also mentored students by sharing insights and learning from his journey in becoming an actuarial fellow with ASA. Beyond his extensive work experience, he embraces continuous learning and has a curiosity for various subject matters. Cam enjoys finding balance with various fitness related activities, especially a fun High Rocks competition. Now, next time when I come to High Rocks, I know that I'm going to look out for you, Cameron. Thank you so much for making time. Not only brains, but there's also a lot of determination and muscles out there. Thank you so much, Cameron, for making time with us.
Thank you. Thanks, Vipira. Thanks for that intro. Pleasure to be here with everybody. As you were initially speaking about the kind of history of SAADP, I realized that I was one of the earlier batches who actually joined the SAADP program, because I was in university from about 2005, which was when SAADP started. So I remember when we were a small group, and we've now grown to a much bigger group of alumni, and being able to fund a lot more students. It's actually a pleasure to be here and share a bit of my knowledge and my insights with potentially the next group of students. So we're happy to be here. So I'm just going to take a minute just to share my screen. I've prepared a few slides that we can talk through. Okay. So I'm going to talk a bit about really what an actuary does day to day. So not really the university journey, but how we take that and we apply that in the work that we do. And talking a little bit about some of the big decisions that we make as actuaries in the world. I think when you start off in this course, you may have one idea of what it's about, but hopefully as we go through some of the content, you can see how kind of wide-reaching some of the actuarial skills are in the day-to-day and real life. So let's first start us off with, what are some of the big problems that people care about, societies, countries, leaders, think about, and maybe how it relates to what we do as actuaries. So things like, can our country afford healthcare? And a topical subject in South Africa. How do we ensure people have money for retirement? How do we protect our loved ones financially if we pass away? Can we reduce the burden if our property is managed or stolen? So if you've bought a car and now it gets stolen, what do we do? And can we provide a stable return on investments, so to increase prosperity of our clients, of the country as a whole? And all of these then are questions and solutions that actuaries are involved in developing and answering, and trying to improve the wider public's status. So what is an actuary? You, I guess, here may have some idea, although it may seem like it's very broad and a bit unclear as to what it could be. And if you ask 10 different actuaries, you may get 10 different answers of what is an actuary. But if I could sum it up into maybe one line is actually solve problems of a financial nature, typically involving uncertainty. So I'll delve into what that could mean in a bit more detail, but I'd say that is roughly what an actuary does. So it's financial related problems and uncertainty, which involves meaning there's a lot of potential different outcomes. As an actuary, we have to be able to make decisions through that uncertainty. So what are the knowledge and skills that you will need? And you've started on that journey through school, but build on that through university and exams. So maths and numerical skills, which you'll pick up from high school and continues on to university. Statistics, you may have had some exposure, but there's quite a lot of that in all of the university programs and exams. So uncertainty means lots of different outcomes. So statistics involves probabilities, which is likelihood of different outcomes. So it fits, is quite an important part of your actuarial skill set. Economics and finance. There may be a perception that economics is about money, which is true. To an extent, it is about money, but economics is actually a social science. It's about behavior of people. And a lot of actuarial work involves really understanding behaviors. So, for example, if the price goes up on a product, you probably expect to sell less of that product because people don't have as much income to spend on an expensive product than a cheaper product. That translates very directly into actuarial work. So understanding economics of people and macroeconomics of the wider economy is quite important. Finance kind of builds upon that in understanding things like how a business reaches profitability, return on investment measures, and so forth. Data analytics. Quite a significant part of our work is driven from understanding data. So if we can understand the past, we can use that in order to help form predictions of what the future can be. So analytics plays a big part in that. And then general business awareness. So a lot of actuarial work is going to be in a corporate space. So understanding how businesses work, what are key performance indicators of the business, what are their objectives and goals, I think is quite important to the skill set. But outside of that, outside the numbers and the maths and the finance, there's a lot of softer skills that are required to be an actuary. So things like decision making, problem solving, balancing interests are really important. Actuarial problems that we tend to get involved in are quite complex and do not necessarily have a fixed answer, as much as maths might be the answer is X. Actuarial work is more than just the answer is X. There's a lot of different pathways that one can go down. So you need to be able to understand those pathways and say, here's the best decision for the business or for the client that we should take. And then balancing interest part comes into it. So if you think of a business who's selling a product, the higher the price, the more the profit. However, the higher the price, the less potential customers you get. Or it's not really of value to customers. So you often have to balance what does my shareholder want for return on their business versus what does the customer want to be able to keep my customer happy and the product selling. And communication is also a really important element to actuarial work. I think increasingly in a world which is automated, where there's AI, it's not just about the answer. It's really about how understanding that answer and communicating it to a wide range of people and stakeholders within your business, within the wider public, to your customers. I think being able to communicate fairly complex concepts to them is quite important. So where do actuaries work? We broadly work in financial services industries, but there's, I guess, maybe typical or traditional, what we call practice areas that actuaries work in. So I've listed them here on the screen. So it's life insurance, general insurance, healthcare, pensions and retirement, banking, investments. So covering quite a wide array of financial services businesses. So there are actuaries who work there, and you may have picked up from the exam list that was shared earlier that there's exams related to some of these practice areas as well that get you more specialized into understanding these spaces. However, even despite this being quite broad, I know actuaries who work in many other areas outside of this. So I know actuaries who work in retail, so they work for Shoprite Checkers as financial managers there. I've known actuaries who work for Taxi Association. I've known actuaries who work for charities as well. So I think the skills around dealing with uncertainty, making decisions, considering a wide variety of interests, just lends itself to a lot of different businesses who require that skill set in order to grow and move forward. So even though these are the traditional areas, there's a lot of other businesses and other areas that actuaries do work in and are quite successful. I'm going to talk through a bit more of practical examples in each of these main areas, just so you can maybe a sense of what a day-to-day work might be. So it's a bit more tangible and it's not just this abstract idea of working in the industry. So some of the insurance, so life and general insurance. So I'm a product and pricing actually, so a lot of my work is in product development, where we ask ourselves questions like, how do we create a product that can protect a customer from uncertainty? So example, how do I protect against a financial impact if my car is an accident? So that is a fairly common product in the market, which is like car motor insurance that I'm sure you've heard of and seen a lot of ads. So actuaries get involved in the development of that product. I would say, while it may seem at the outside as like there's car insurance everywhere, and that is true, there's a lot of complexity and rules that go underlying it. And improvements that are made to various products that providers sell to market. So yeah, there's a lot of actuarial work that is done in the product development space. It's a very common area that actuaries find themselves in, especially in the insurance world. Pricing, so how do I set an insurance premium that is affordable to customers, but also delivers profit to shareholders? So if you take an example of like life insurance, so someone's paying a few R100 a month, but it's potentially getting R1 million payout should they die. So how do we ensure that the premium is sufficient enough to make sure if the person dies, we can pay them out, but still deliver a profit to shareholders? Something like insurance involves uncertainty. Again, because you don't know when someone's going to die, or you don't know when someone's going to get into an accident. So it involves statistics, again, probabilities of certain events occurring, and you utilize that in your determination of what an insurance premium would be. And then financial management is quite a big area and an employer of actuaries. So how do we manage funds so that you can pay a claim essentially at any point? So if I take out an insurance, life insurance product today, and I die 30 days from now or 30 years from now, we need to be able to pay something out. So how do we manage that to ensure that, yeah, if there's R1,000,000 and someone dies a month from now, we can pay them out, but also if they die 30 years from now, we still have that money available to be able to pay. So it's a big part of what we need to do in this space. Then healthcare and retirement. So a lot of healthcare work is done around medical aid contributions. So what should be set in order to cover the cost that of the medical aid services that are provided. So fairly complex world, always changing world in the medical space, but yeah, very important function that medical aid serve. And something like, how do we ensure retirement goals are met? That is a challenge in many countries throughout the world, to how to ensure that each individual has enough money to be able to not only just survive, but actually maintain or experience their lifestyle that they want to post-retirement, whether it be travel or grandkids or whatever it is. That's it's important to have enough money to be able to fulfill those objectives, and if they play a role in end-to-end products, pricing, etc., to ensure that we can at least offer solutions to customers. Social systems. So even though we largely work in a corporate space, there's a lot of larger changes that happen at a societal and at a country level that actuaries do provide comment on, and the work that we do directly or indirectly can feed into it. So as an example is national health insurance. Just very briefly what that is, if anyone hasn't been exposed to it, is kind of the aim of government to provide a universal healthcare to all. So we commonly have public hospitals and private hospitals. The aim would be to have a single universal healthcare when all have equitable access to healthcare. So great in terms of aims to move towards that type of world, but a lot of complexity to be able to have a financial model that can support that, not to mention infrastructure, to be able to practically implement such a system. So actuaries have and do provide comment on that. Things like the old age grant and involvement in management of large pension funds, also quite critical roles there. If you're talking to retirement, it's not just, there's many different sources of where retirement funding can come from. So it's important to understand what is provided by government, what is provided by large funds, what do individuals need to do. And then in future planning, so pandemics definitely has been a part where actuaries have played a key role. So during COVID-19, there were quite a number of actuaries that I saw on television who were giving interviews about some of the work that they did around understanding different waves of the virus, predicting where it may go, understanding how many deaths could occur, what are the drivers of the different spikes. So from everything from certain events, kind of a spread rate, natural immunity, vaccinations, etc. How all of that can play a role, at least in understanding how a pandemic will operate, and ultimately helping those stakeholders and government and health organizations to actually make decisions to ultimately save people. So it's important work that was done. Things like an aging population. It's slightly affecting South Africa, but in other more developed countries, aging populations are a challenge, especially in your retirement space. So as you have more people getting older, they stop earning an income, stop contributing towards tax, or contribute less towards tax. and then they start drawing on the government's resources more, which can be a problem if you don't have enough young people to sort of fill in from the bottom and actually provide productivity to the country, as well as tax income to fund things like retirement. So modeling can help a lot there. And then quickly on banking and investments. So working on investment strategies, which is around delivering required returns. Things like risk management, which is how does a bank sort of survive if people stop paying loans? So if things turn poorly in the economy, the bank still needs to survive if people don't, let's say, repay loans. How do we ensure that that happens? Market collapses are also events that we need to plan for and at least ensure that should that ever happen, we survive. And then innovation in that space is quite strong. It is in other areas as well, but things like AI is quite prevalent drivers of growth and in that space, but that comes with cyber risk as well. So you may see and hear more and more of your family members, friends, parents be exposed to the risk of being scammed in some way or having hacks happen. Very real threat in the financial system in banks. So just to sum that up, it's how do you practice or aim to practice certainty in an uncertain world? Difficult, as you see, there's a lot of things to think about. But I think at least what actuaries can do is at least try to have some understanding of that uncertainty and try to gather enough information together to be able to make some decisions and that understanding at least of what that uncertainty is. And maybe that creates at least some certainty of direction of where clients and businesses can go. I wanted to share a little bit about my learnings from being an actuary, so things that I've seen and experienced from kind of day one of actually working as an actuary. So not even necessarily being done with exams, but just exiting university and what happens on day one once you start working as an actuary and what may be important. The first thing I term is like level of responsibility. So as actuaries from day one, you will get involved with tasks which potentially involve millions of rands, and there's a high level of responsibility placed on you to ensure an accuracy of work or timeliest delivery of information or inputs, so that the business can actually make decisions and progress. So yeah, you're actually fairly senior, I think, when you enter into a business relative to other people who may be at the same age or experience level as you. I think you've given a lot of responsibility as an actuary. Complexity of problems we need to solve. I don't know if this is still a perception, but I do sometimes think that there's a thought that actuarial work can be fairly routine, and it's like, you kind of press this button and here's some actuarial output and there you go. Not really the case. There may be certain things that are done which are routine, but I think a lot of the complexity comes in understanding, and I'll talk about adapting now, but there's a lot of that understanding, communicating with others, so fairly complex ideas. Anytime there's like uncertainty and you're trying to translate that into something that's measurable and has some level of certainty to it, it's a difficult skill set for people to have. So yeah, it's fairly complex problems we need to delve into. Adapting to change, very important in our world. It's not a constant, fixed, static world. There's always things that are changing rapidly sometimes. So regulatory changes in our economy, technology like AI, new competitors coming into the space. So people also adapting. So things are always changing in the space. You're never really staying still, and even with you may have a developed set of skills, you always need to be able to learn more and adapt. So that's just one of those things as being an actuary. I spoke a bit about communication skills, where increasingly it's not just about running numbers or anything like that. It's about being able to communicate it to your manager, to customers, to IT teams and legal teams and the CEO and analysts and so forth. So a lot of communication skill needed. Give me a gauge from some of the earlier slides, quite a diversity of roles and tasks that actuaries can perform. Links to public interest, so I mentioned things like the role that we played in COVID-19, national health insurance, two-part retirement reforms, as an example, where I was providing that input into it. Serving those we often refer to like vulnerable parts of society. So those are those who generally are not necessarily high earners. They're potentially making decisions which can have significant financial impacts for them. I think that's a key part of what we do and what's interesting in our code of conduct as actuaries. So it's serving the wider society. It's not just acting in your shareholders' best interests. And then understanding of yourself and others, I think is quite important. And it's a ever-changing, ever-growing world. And stepping into the working world, I kind of thought as an actuary, I'm smart enough. Do you have a wide variety of skills? And so I'm going to be able to easily solve problems. But going into it to understand, like, okay, what are your capabilities, and also how strong capabilities are of others around you. So people from your legal profession and accounting profession and your sales staff and your IT and technology teams, how much expertise they have and how much they can contribute to anything that we do as an actuary. So we work together. It's important that to appreciate that others also have like quite valuable roles to play in the work that we do. So this is my last slide. Then, what do I need to be an actuary? So I just wanted to give some thoughts about being in school and coming into potentially the university program. What do I potentially need to have currently so that I could make it as an actuary? So I think an affinity for maths is one of them, and it's explicitly set out in one of the university entrance requirements to say, you need to have a maths mark. I think that is probably a more natural affinity that you have. It definitely adds to the skills you'll need. As a lot of the university programs build upon maths skills. I think problem solving and logic is probably more important, and that's where I think the high maths requirement almost comes from. Maybe less so, I think, about the mathematical techniques, but more so about like the logical ability that is comes with being able to be good at maths, because you need quite a lot of that in some of the actuarial skill sets. So that plays an important role. And we spoke a bit about communication, but you say there's still a lot more about behaviors. As an actuary, to be successful in not only the university program but in the profession as well. Number one for you is curiosity. So being able to ask questions about the world, about people around you, about the problems you're trying to solve. For me, that is like number one in being an actuary, is being curious enough to ask those questions, because you need to actually do that to be able to do your work well. I think that's important. Perseverance, it's more about the actual journey that was spoke about earlier, that it can be a fairly long road to qualification, lots of exams, not always easy exams. So you need a lot of perseverance to be able to get through it. Openness. So this is about like openness of learning. So being able to understand that my learning journey is never really over. I need to be able to receive feedback from others, understand that there's different perspectives that are out there. Adaptation, we talk a bit about, but the world is always changing, and there needs to be willing for us to be able to maneuver through and change the way that we think about the world. Collaborative, so working with others, so it's not just in our profession, we work with many other people throughout the work that we would do. And then future focused, so that's sorry, slide just again. Yeah, future focused. That is more around having a long-term output on here's how the world is today, but here's actually what I'm focusing on. It may not be the state that is today, but thinking about 10, 20 years down the line. And then lastly, I just want to say to anyone who's thinking about joining this world, is that it provides a wide variety of opportunities. It's almost like that it kind of opens the door for a lot of different opportunities that are out there. It's a very rewarding career and profession to be in. I've been in here for about 17 years. Excuse me, and I've never been bored or regretful of actually being a part of the profession. So it's a really exciting space to be in. As I say, it's always changing, always growing, and I think the work that we do is really meaningful. So I think anybody who any of this resonates with, I think you'll find joining the profession quite rewarding. Oh, thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you so much. Wow, that was more than sufficient, Kamlen. There is a question that it's an interesting one always, especially when it comes to the actuarial profession. And the question is, how likely for the actuaries to be replaced by AI?
Yeah, this is an interesting question. It's something we've asked ourselves recently and over the past few months and years as AI has gained more prominence, is how likely are to be replaced. I think if I go back to this skill set list, I think there's it's yeah, I think I spoke through the skill set. So there's a couple of these skills that I think AI can mimic to some extent. So some of the math, statistics, economic skills, I think AI has some can to an extent replace some of those skills. But I think where AI is going to be difficult to replace skills is these elements of decision making, of problem solving, communication, and balancing interests. It's not so easy to be able to feed all of that information into AI and say, here, solve this problem for me. When there's so many different things you have to think about, interests you have to balance. The communication part is never going to be as great as having a human do it. So I think the profession will evolve. So maybe some skills are less relevant than others, but as an actuaries as a profession, I doubt we will get fully replaced by AI. I think there's still a huge amount of value we will add that AI is not going to be able to replace.
Thank you for that answer. Guys, this is an opportunity for you to ask any questions you've got around the biggest decisions or decisions that actuaries make on a daily basis. It's your opportunity. Any further questions? Any questions, guys? I think just to close off, Kamlen, on my side, a question I have is, what's the biggest decision that you've ever had to make as an actuary in your field, and what impact has it had thereafter on business?
Interesting question. I think for me it's it's just I've been in product development and pricing for a long time, and I often find the decisions to be the hardest, actually not the ones that are hundreds of millions of rands. It's the smaller ones that affect individual people. So if I'm pricing a product and there's paying interest that I have to take into account, but I know I'm serving a mass market segment, and 100 Rand extra in the premium per month is actually like significant. It can significantly affect their lives. And those are for me the biggest challenges. It's not the 100 million to shareholders, it's actually like the small changes that I try to empathize, like what does this mean on the ground to people that I would know, or to people who are struggling, how will this affect them? And it's a difficult thing to balance. But that is part of what we need to do, to not just serve the shareholder side, but to serve the public as well. So those are the tough ones.
Thank you so much. I did say that was the last question, but as you were speaking, I have one last question.
Sure.
And this actually goes out to all the learners that are on this platform. What's that one advice you could give them, especially for those that are intending to get into this profession?
Yeah, I would say it's being I think cognizant or aware of that journey, that actuarial journey. It is a long journey, but I think being aware of how rewarding it can be and is a strong motivator to keep going, especially those university years. It can be a tough time. There's a lot of courses to do. There can be difficult courses to actually get good marks in, and I think that from an emotional standpoint, it might seem like maybe I made the wrong decisions, isn't for me, and there may be sometimes that might be the right thing to consider. But if this is something you really feel like you'll be good at, that you're passionate about, don't let any setbacks really push you off of that course. If you've committed to it, stay the course, be resilient, persevere. You can get there. I think a lot of the people who do get there, like myself, it was not an easy journey, but we kept going because we believed that we can add value to society, and we are passionate about it. So I think keep that resilience.
Right. No, thank you so much. It seems like there's no further questions. But once more again, thank you for your time, Kamlen, and really the information that you've shared. I personally also learned a bit here and there. So if you don't mind sticking around for a little while, perhaps there'll be more questions that you can assist with at a later stage after the last speaker.
Cool. Thanks everybody.
Thank you so much. Well, guys, you've heard it. I'm looking at our time, so I think we should run straight on to the next speaker. And our next speaker is a she. You would realize that quite often she's very, very limited in this actuarial space, and especially those that are FASAs. So there are always those people that we celebrate the most. As mentioned, that the actuarial journey is not an easy one. Our next speaker is Ms. Makgomo Ngoepe, who is a FASA, and she is going to talk on the topic, why is maths the superpower? Why is maths the superpower? So just to introduce her, I will just share with you her background, who she is. Makgomo Ngoepe was born and raised in Tefluop, Limpopo, and has always been a curious child who frustrated her conservative parents, who were always her biggest supporters. Her dad ignited her love for maths at a young age. She decided to pursue actuarial science in matric and ended up being in the 2015 top 30 matriculants in Limpopo. And she obtained her undergraduate degree in actuarial science, cum laude. Guys, cum laude actuarial science degree. That means with distinction. And she then went on to study her honors in actuarial science from the University of Pretoria under the motherly care of Mrs. Lehobo. These are actually her words. I'm not selling myself, right? She's a qualified actuary currently working as a finance actuary at Capitec. Outside of work, Makgomo is a gym fanatic, a foodie who likes trying out new restaurants, and a groovist at heart to talk about diversity, right? And being explorative. She's currently studying towards a degree in theology, not to become a pastor, but to grow her faith in a way that resonates with her intellectual strength. Ladies and gentlemen, learners, parents, please give this moment over to Makgomo Ngoepe. Makgomo, over to you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Mr. Hova, can you just confirm if you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, and we can also see your screen.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And yeah, it's always wild listening to the intro. But it's a pleasure and a privilege to be here. What I'm going to talk about is why maths is the superpower, and it sounds like a very abstract or a very genius way of just saying, let's talk about why maths matters, how to overcome fear, and succeeding in maths. Ma'am, can you just check that that's the slide that's showing, the first one that says why maths is important? Why maths is the superpower?
Be on, it's clear.
Okay, cool. Then a bit of background. This topic resonated with me mainly because of what ma'am mentioned in my intro. I became a lover of maths because of my dad. And this was because of how he made us do maths in the most simplest of ways every single day with different games, even just calculating discounts while we're shopping. That's how I got to love maths, and that's how I ended up picking the career that I picked, which is being an actuary. So I'm just going to take you through, guys, why maths is important. And some of the things are quite obvious. And then how to overcome fear in maths, because it's a big issue for a lot of people. When someone says, I actually enjoy maths, even when I say I enjoy maths, people always get the shock of their like why would you say that? How would you say that? But it's possible to get over the fear, and we'll chat through that today. And also how to succeed in maths, ultimately. So maths, we use maths in everyday lives. It gives us It plays a significant role in our everyday lives, and often in ways that aren't so obvious. Some ways are more obvious than others. Can use maths. Maths helps us to improve our problem-solving skills and enhance logical thinking. So it's not just about the numbers, it goes beyond the numbers. So being able to solve a maths problem end to end gives you that ability to solve any other problem from end to end. Not even just using the same strategies, but it kind of sharpens your mind to be able to say, when I have a problem, this is how I can go about it, and you're able to expand that to different parts of your life. Prepares us for adulthood, to be independent, having adult responsibilities, because problem solving, as I said, that problem solving skills you get from maths can be expanded outside of just the numbers. And financial management is just it's a very important topic as an adult when it comes to budgeting, saving, and all of that. Building wealth revolves around being able to manage your money well, and managing money stems from being able to work with numbers. A couple of examples on where maths is used in our daily lives. My slides are a bit delayed. Yes. So something as simple as cooking. When we cook, there's measurements that are required, especially in baking. Maths is applied there. When you're shopping, whether you're comparing discounts or whether you're calculating how much you're getting off, even when you're comparing currencies for those who shop online, it's always good to have it at the back of your mind to be able to do a quick calc to see, am I getting a discount or am I being robbed? When traveling, what time you'll arrive at a place requires you to understand numbers. How far somewhere is, the distance it will take to get there, and how fast you need to get there. That also improves your efficiency as a person. On social media, for those who want to, who are interested in analyzing social media algorithms and data, maths also plays a role in understanding the percentage of people who view your stories, what your distribution of viewers is, those type of things. These are just simple examples of where we apply maths every single day. So you can see from this that maths is an important skill for everyone, not just those who are in specific career fields, but for everyone. And I'll touch on the career bit, at the career aspect of it in a bit. Now, when it comes to why students fear maths, few points contribute to this. The main ones I could think of was the fear of making mistakes. So for some of us, making a mistake is the most gruesome feeling ever, and it's not supposed to be that. So some people don't have this perception that when you're doing maths, you're bound to make mistakes. And most of the time it happens. A lot of us have made mistakes before, but that didn't stop us from practicing or getting into maths even more. And it's always, so this can somehow affect your confidence, can reduce your confidence in maths when you make mistakes. And it happens even generally for other things as well. It's not specific to maths only. Then there's this fixed mindset that maths is for smart people only. Believing that automatically excludes, if you feel like you're not in that smart people cohort, it automatically excludes you, and your attitude towards math is gonna change. And when your attitude changes, and when your attitude is a negative one, your experience in it will also follow suit. So the kind of mindset you have as an individual towards maths needs to change for you to get over the fear. And that attitude is what contributes to the fear. Negative past experiences also reinforce the fear. So if someone has failed before or has made a mistake before, it kind of builds up a reference point to say, look, this went wrong before, I don't think this is for me, or I don't think I can ever be able to do this. It's good to remember that maths is a skill, not a talent. And what it means is you can learn it, you can improve it with practice, right? So how to get over the fear? We've talked about fear in the previous slide. How to get over this? One of the most important steps is changing the way you think about the maths as a subject. Again, it's not a talent. It's not a talent that only a few people possess. It is a skill that you can learn and improve over time. But first, you need to have that mindset, that a growth mindset, a growth mindset, and that's having that positive attitude. This goes with having positive self-talk as well. Change your attitude towards maths. Think about it positively. Give yourself time to learn that skill. Sharpen it over time. Allow yourself to learn from mistakes. This is also, it has also been a big learning point and a growth point for myself, even in my adult life. Having been a perfectionist all my life, my experience in studying the degree and growing in my field has had its own humbling moments, but I didn't quit. I learned from the mistakes I made, and this is why I am where I am now. It's a place you have to grow out of, to say, you know what, it's okay to make mistakes. The only way to grow is to put yourself in a position where, okay, let me try this out. And once you open yourself to trying things out, you're bound to make mistakes, but you just need to learn from them, and you'll do better next time. Then maths also, you need to also learn to have resilience. So over time, as you engage more complex problems in maths, as you practice and you persist through those challenges, you're building resilience. And resilience is a very important character trait to have if you want to be successful in a lot of fields. This is not just in maths only. The world requires a hint of resilience, and building it up in small ways, such as going back to maths even after feeling defeated, it contributes to building overall resilience and character as an individual. So in a nutshell, adopt a good a growth mindset, which is positive. Learn from your mistakes. Talk about yourself and to yourself positively to boost confidence and build resilience. Continue trying again and again. Now, I've mentioned a bit about problem-solving skills. Just want to tap into what problem-solving implies and how maths comes into the picture. So, problem-solving basically involves understanding what a problem is, breaking down into steps, and then finding a solution to it. And then after that, you analyze the solution or the results, right? Maths does this. A lot of maths problems require you to break them down into steps, manageable steps, so that the whole picture is clearer and you're able to focus on different parts of the problem. Again, breaking things down, it's also very important for a similar reason as like understanding the problem. Then applying different strategies. In maths, most of the time there's only one correct answer, but getting to that answer, we can do it in different ways. If someone gives a sum and to 3 people, they can all do it differently and still get to the same answer. So another thing maths teaches you on solving problems is exploring different ways of getting to the answer. Not one way is correct. It also allows you to critically think. So critical thinking just means sitting down with the problem and giving it a bit of thought, not just making conclusions off of the surface level. Then you're able to recognize patterns. To say, for instance, maths numbers change all the time. If they're testing a concept, they won't give you the same numbers all the time. But at the back of your mind, you would have an idea of, this is how I've applied or I've approached something like this before. Let me try that again. Or you're able to see a pattern emerge and you're like, okay, maybe this is how the rest of this pattern goes. So maths also sharpens that to say, let me take my time with the problem, think about it critically, explore it from different angles, and see if I can pick up anything from previous questions that I can apply now. And then there's also that element, what I touched on, problem solving skills go beyond the classroom. So even in real life, however you've sharpened your mind through maths will be relevant in solving day-to-day problems. Then applying problem solving skills in our lives and our careers. I think I've touched on everyday problem solving, time, making decisions, planning your time, and all of that. And then in terms of the rest of the points, business and finance applications, technology and engineering, medical field problem solving, this is to basically highlight how maths applies to a wider fields, not just in actuarial science, for instance. A lot of careers hinge on problem solving. A lot of companies, a lot of corporates pay people to solve problems. The decisions that actuaries made, as Kamlen was explaining just now, most of them are meant to solve problems. So, and problems exist in a lot of industries. The thread here is maths gives you the ability to solve problems. It teaches you how to solve problems, and your solving skills can apply in different careers. Whether you want to be an engineer, there's always problems to solve, engineering related, even in medicine, right? Things like dosages, interpreting patient data, those require maths because there's a lot of numbers. A lot of the metrics that doctors calculate depend on numbers. So you need to have a strong mathematical background to be able to fulfill such roles. And then achieving success in maths, a few tips to excel in maths. So this requires a combination of consistent effort, some effective study strategies, and again, a positive attitude. One of the most important practices is consistent and regular revision. So 15 to 20 minutes every day, even if it's just doing one question or one sum, that exercise for your brain is very, very important in getting your mind used to working with numbers. And that's how you sharpen the skill. Remember, we said it's a skill, it's not talent. So the more you do it, the more good you get at it. So whenever you get an opportunity to actually practice maths, it's worthwhile to do it. So yeah, 15 to 20 minutes every day as a start can go a long way. Then this deep conceptual understanding. This speaks to asking yourself, why are we doing this, right? It's one thing to get through a problem at face value, not understanding the depth of it. Then it's another thing to actually sit and try to understand what the concept is actually. For example, if we're solving equations, right? Understand what the idea behind solving for x is. What are we trying to get to? And this is basically drawing a distinction between memorizing and understanding. Memorizing in maths hardly works because, again, as I said, they won't ask the question the same way. There'll always be a twist. And when you understand the concept, you're able to apply the concept to however they structure the problem. So when doing maths, always make sure that you understand. Seek help and practice extra problems. So ask as many questions as you can or as you want. Don't fall into the trap that when you ask questions, it makes you look stupid or it makes you look dumb. At the end of the day, if you go out of class without understanding a lot of the concept, you will carry that misunderstanding with you even when you start practicing. So rather use the opportunity to ask for help. That's what your teachers are there for. Also, practice different problems when you get a chance, right? This also goes back to sharpening the skill over time, and part of revising is trying different instances of maths problems, right? Then the last one is to learn from your mistakes. So again, making mistakes, it happens. But what you learn from those mistakes matters even more than making the mistake itself. Give yourself time to reflect. Okay, this is what I did this time around, and it was wrong because of this and this. Next time you apply it different, you approach it different, and hopefully in the correct manner. Then some study strategies. Breaking down complex topics. If you feel like maths is overwhelming you, try take it bit by bit. You'll be able to see the rest of the thread at the end, the thread that connects the topics. But if it gets overwhelming, try do it bit by bit, right? Use past papers. I'm a huge advocate of using past papers. I've been doing past papers for as long as I can remember. It also helps you to practice how to answer exam type questions. Again, the concepts will almost always be the same. It's how they phrase the questions that may differ here and there. But the more you practice, the sharper the skill gets. Now, using visual aids, such as graphs, diagrams, and charts, helps a lot, especially if you're someone who likes to learn visually. This can also go a long way in helping with that. And then teaching others. This was a big one for me as well, even when I was in high school. It's another form of practice and even learning, right? You and your friends may have different approaches to the same problem, and one might be easier than the other, or one might be quicker to apply than the other. Teaching others and learning with others allows that, right? It also gives you more time to sharpen your skills. So builds, even for networking purposes, try to have sit downs with your friends, teach each other, learn from each other, and that's how you'll grow. Then lastly, on study strategies and the mindset for success is having a positive growth mindset. Again, back to the attitude conversation. It's important for you to reflect on how much progress you've made and where you still need to improve. So over time, if you're putting in the effort, recognize how far you've come so that you can also be encouraged to keep going, you know. Motivation, sometimes a positive self-talk is the motivation that, or the motivation that you'll need. And even just getting sums right, use that as motivation to keep going, right? I mean, set attainable goals. If you're going to work on improving your math skills over time, don't go from, I was getting a 50, now I want to get a 90. Give yourself time, bit by bit, build it up. Say, I want to improve 10%. I want to add 10% to my score every term. If you start in January, by December, you'll be at 80%. And that's improvement. Or you can do it for 5% every term. But pace yourself in such a way that you'll achieve your goals, and that will motivate you to keep going. The last thing you want is to discourage yourself from growing and improving. Then the last one is continuous improvement. Putting in consistent effort will result in continuous improvement. You'll most likely improve continuously and consistently. So yeah, last question I want to leave you guys with is, what is one thing you will do differently in math starting today? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Makgomo. This was absolutely informative and very powerful. We're going to ask you just to remain a little bit, for questions. There is already one question, if maybe we can start off with that one. And the question is it possible for someone who has an engineering degree to become an actuary? If yes, is it easy or difficult? And I'm sensing two questions actually in this one question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can we get to this?
I can give it a shot, but Kamlen can also comment. The answer is yes. If you have an engineering degree, you can become an actuary. I know two people who were actually accountants rather, and started their actuarial journey from scratch. It's just that it'll take a bit longer because you are still required to write all the board exams. And there's also a course that we get exempted from on the basis of having studied the degree. I think it's N111, but you can start the journey to qualifying through ASA if you have an engineering degree. Just being cognizant of the fact that it'll take a while because you still need to write all the board exams.
Yeah, so to add on to that, so one of my direct reports is an engineer who did exactly that, just had an engineering degree and then decided to go along the path to become an actuary. So very doable, but agree with Makgomo's points that it's a longer journey because you're starting sort of outside of university now with all of your exams, so it does take a bit longer. I will say that his problem-solving ability is quite strong, because I think that is really what engineers do really well, is be able to solve those problems. So he's very strong in that capability, and I think that comes from his engineering background. But yeah, the exams still is that journey is a longer journey now, because he didn't start out in it.
Thank you so much, Makgomo and Cam. TM, I hope you could understand that. And look, there's always also regulations based on the ASA. You will have to really make an inquiry, because it's also not just all that easy. You also need to know which exams to write and how to navigate the roadmap to qualifying. Any further questions from the floor, guys? Medisi is Medisi. Yeah. Oh, okay. There hasn't been who is it? Vukosi Baloi. Any questions from you? We are good. Okay. All right. So I'm looking at our time, and I am thinking that just to be wary of time, I'm just gonna touch quickly on what we offer as SAADP. Cam and Makgomo, again, let me just cover this segment and then see if there's any further questions, and we can call it the day after that. All right, guys. So just to cover a bit on what I have already introduced ourselves as SAADP, South African Actuarial Development Program, and I would like to now say exactly what we offer. I have mentioned that we've been around for just over 20 years. We are a bursary program that operates mainly and currently from the three universities: University of Pretoria, University of the Witwatersrand, and the University of Cape Town. For you to be able or to be eligible for the bursary program or to be a part of this bursary program, you would need to have been registered in the three universities that I have mentioned. So you unfortunately cannot say that you are maybe from any other university that we're not operating from, and then you would wish for funding from us. You have to then have been accepted and registered in our partner universities. And I'm glad that we've covered the requirements earlier on, so you are already informed as to what is required. So once you are registered, and when we say registered, it doesn't mean just admitted. You need to be a registered student having met the requirements as per those universities that we have mentioned, you can then be considered to be admitted into the bursary. Even then, for you to be able to be admitted, you need to have made an application. Now, our application process that is online opens from March, the 1st of March, and it closes on the 30th of September. And applications are accessible on our website. When you visit our website, www.saadp.co.za, you would see a link right at the end of the screen. There are two links, but look for apply here, and that's where you can place your application. Usually by the same year that you've applied, we would give you immediately on the online, you will already receive either that you are provisionally accepted. The reason being, for the decision to be made, it gets made based on your final NSC results. So only in January, once we receive your NSC results, we'll be able to make the final offer or final decision on your application. And our head office will get in touch with you based on your application outcome. All right, so once you are offered this bursary, our SAADP bursary is not simply about giving you money. However, it goes further than that. In our three partner universities, the one thing that sets us apart is the fact that we also have a tailor-made, customized student support services. What that means is within each and every one of those universities that have been mentioned, you would find someone called a program manager, the likes of myself. So I'm the program manager at the University of Pretoria. And the reason why you would have your program managers that are based at universities is to ensure that you as our recipient and beneficiary, you afforded a holistic support, meaning we make sure that your finances are taken care of, your psycho-emotional needs are taken care of, and all the other needs that will make sure that you are a well-rounded student on campus and eventually be a powerhouse of a graduate at the end of your studies of your undergrad or even postgraduate degree. So in the nutshell, that's what we offer. But if you do need any additional information, please do visit our website. You'll find more information over there, and our contact details are also on our website. Again, I repeat, the website is www.saadp.co.za. And again, follow us on our socials, guys. We are available on Instagram, we are on LinkedIn, we are on TikTok, as well as YouTube. Follow us, like us, subscribe to our YouTube podcast so you can learn more stories. You know that we've got a whole lot of alumni that are well achieved. On our podcast, you can meet even more and get to learn more about what SAADP is and what we offer and who we are and where have we been and where we are going. So on that note, I'd like to say thank you. Are there any further questions before I say our final goodbyes? Any further questions? You can just nod. Are we good? All of us? Okay, so if we are good, I'm not seeing any responses. If we are good, I'd like to once more again say a big thank you to Mr. Kamohelo Sithole in absentia. He was with us earlier on. He had to leave because of other engagements. Kamlen, thank you so much, and I do wish that this is not the last time we're seeing you. Hopefully very soon we'll see you on the podcast. And Makgomo, thank you so much. We now have a much bigger understanding of how maths can be applicable on a daily basis in our lives and how important it is to be mathematically inclined. We thank you all so much. Our learners on this platform, We wish you all the best in your matric year or your grade 12 year, your forthcoming exams, and we do also hope that we will see your names on the admissions list and finally see you on the registrations list, as well as on our various campuses when we meet up at that point. Our educators who are currently on the platform, if there's any, thank you so much for always taking interest in the education of our children. The same also goes to our parents who are sitting in probably somewhere in the backgrounds listening on with their children. Thank you so much for always having an interest and making sure that our future leaders are well informed and well prepared for the future and for what is forthcoming in their education. On that note, good thank you and a bye-bye for us till we meet again. Thank you. Good evening. Good night.